So now our login and register views are working and we can just see the page as is. It is not functional. But what I want to do is if we go back and if we go to our startup class file, you can see we are using the default identity user. Now when you use the default identity user, if we go back to the ASP.NET users table, these are the only columns that we get. If you want to add a new column here, like let's say we want to store name of the user that registers, you don't have that column. We need to customize the default implementation of ASP.NET users table. How do we do that? For that, we will have to create a new modal class. So inside the modals folder, we will right click, add a new class, and I will call this application user. Now this application user, we want to implement or rather extend the identity user. So right here, we have to write identity user and extend it with the using Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Identity. When you do this, this means that application user has all of the properties that we have in identity user. On top of that, if you want to add more properties here, you can of course do that. So let me add a property name, because when we are on the register page, we are fetching or retrieving the name of the user that is registering in our application. Now how do we create this inside our tables in database? For that, what we have to do is we'll have to open up inside our models. We have application DB context. Here, when we are saying that application DB context implements the identity DB context, here in the property, we can write the user type. By default, it is identity user. Now we have a new implementation for identity user, which is application user. So once you write that, now if you add a new migration, you will see some changes. Let me do that. So we'll say add migration, give it a meaningful name. I will call this add application user. Great, you can see inside the migration, all it is doing is it is adding a column of name to the ASP.NET users table. That is the same property that we added inside application user. So with that, let me update the database. Let me switch back to SQL Server and let me do select top 1000 one more time. This time we see a new column which is name. Now that's not all that we had to do. If we go back to our code and if we go to startup class file, here we said that when we are adding identity, we are using identity user. This now changes to application user because that user has the property name.